Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, for the last couple of weeks, I have been promising a figure collection review video, and I have been procrastinating on that, and I do apologize. Actually, I've been putting it off because there are a couple of loose figures that I've been waiting on, and I finally got them in probably a few days ago, so that's another reason. I obviously don't want to do a review video unless I actually have a loose figure to show you guys to go along with the carded figures. So there are a couple of figures we're going to be looking at today, a couple of variants. So I don't have the variant for those figures, but at least we'll be able to show off variant A as opposed to variant B. So there will still be something to show for this particular video. So that'll be fine. Wrestle Something Wrestlers. It's funny because every time I talk about, these Hasbro-style figures, obviously we always talk about Zombie Sailor toys, which you guys know, man. I'm not... As time has progressed, Zombie Sailors has really fallen out of favor with me. I am becoming less and less of a fan of their company. And I've said in 2025, this might be the last year I buy from them. I think their turnaround has been absolutely horrendous. And it's like, why are we getting figures that has just been like posted like 2 weeks ago? And there are figures that we've been waiting on for like a year or two that still hasn't arrived. So it's crazy. And you still got Grapples and Gimmicks, which is amazing. Rush Collectibles. We all know about that issue, but Sal, he's getting better with his figures, and that's what we want from figures, right? We want to see progression, we want to see improvements with figures, and I'm hoping to see, as the line progresses, I'm hoping to see the figures get better and better. So luckily with the series 2, his line's gotten better. I'm hoping as the series moves on further and further, the figures get better and better, and hopefully, because he's a great guy. So, Salvatore, is a good guy, and, small businesses like that, you want to see people like that. You want to be able to support small businesses like that. So, I'm looking forward to someone like that obviously you want to be able to support them. So, and we all talk about Mattel Retros, obviously, and I never seem to talk, like, I'll bring up Premier Wrestling, like, the Premier Wrestling figures, like, this guy's, for example, but, like, I don't know why. I always do these reviews for the Wrestle Something Wrestlers, but whenever I'm talking about the Hasbro-style figures, I always seem to, like, leave these guys out in the cold. Even Epic Toys, like, I very rarely even mention them from time to time. Like, I'll talk about Cella Toys, and Cella Toys and Epic Toys, they're one and the same. Obviously, Cella Toys transitioned to Epic Toys, so if I say Cella, you guys know it's one and the same. But anyways, Jack, obviously, he runs the figure collection store, and when they created the Wrestle Something Wrestlers toy line, which is one of the best retro style Hasbro style wrestling figures, and he's getting unique characters. And one of the first figures we're gonna look at, when I first looked at it, I'm like, who the heck is this guy? I had no idea who this character was. And in fact, when I first looked at this character, I thought that he was probably maybe somebody who worked for the company. Like, maybe he was, one of the store owners, or, something like that. And excuse me if I mispronounced the name, but Vlad Abuzadi. And if you kind of look at this guy, he looks like Steve Urkel, man. And it's funny because if you think back in the 90s, man, if you called someone Steve Urkel, it was like one of the biggest freaking insults in the world. And I think nowadays you call someone Steve Urkel, it's like a rite of passage, or it's like, because, you know, Steve Urkel that's childhood, man. That's Family Matters is one of the greatest comedies to ever grace our TV screens, right? So, and Steve Urkel, he is a TV legend. He's an icon. So, to be referred to Steve Urkel is, you know, it's a pleasure. And Jaleel White, it's sad that his career didn't take off after Family Matters, but you know, it's hard to be a you know, a child star, and you know, kind of grow up and move away from, you know, that little iconic character that you portrayed. But anyways, back to Vlad. So apparently, again, I didn't know anything about this character. And I had to learn later on that, no, I was wrong. He actually had nothing to do with the figure collection store, had absolutely nothing to do with Wrestle Something Wrestlers. In fact, Vlad, if you actually go back to your home videos and actually look at Vlad, or if you actually go back to your home videos, watch SummerSlam, Survivor Series, WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. Watch any of your pay-per-views. Technically, watch any of your big sporting events. This guy is like front row center in pretty much any of your sporting events. Yes, he is nothing more than a major super fan of professional wrestling. And that just goes to show you, you do not need to be a ring announcer. You don't need to be a promoter, a manager. You don't need to be an actual in-ring wrestler. Even your run-of-the-mill guys like you and me, your average fans can get signed and get their own action figures. And I think that is so freaking amazing. And I don't think he was like, some multi-millionaire rich guy. But I think we all question, like, where the heck did this guy get all that money to like show up to like all of these different sporting events and kind of look at some of his accessories? I think he just worked like a regular job. I mean, to my knowledge, again, I could be wrong. He could have been a self-made millionaire. I don't know. I didn't exactly research this guy, like what did he do for a living, but he could have been like a software engineer for all I know. I don't know. But a fan, just an ordinary Joe Schmo, gets his own action figure, and I'm like, I want somebody to sign me. I've joked about it, about getting Waddy's channel. Let there be a Matthew Watson action figure. Someone out there, make me. I want my own action figure. You can keep the proceeds. I just make me a mint on card figure, make me a loose figure for my collection. Any sales you make, you can keep the proceeds. I just want my own figure. This is awesome. I am so impressed that they were able to make a super fan figure, and that is killer. I mean, I don't like the fact that, of course, any jumper, right, with the fused legs, it sucks, but this is still a good looking figure. Again, hard piece. Any of the figures you get from the Wrestle Something Wrestling store is killer. And not only does it come with the fanny pack accessory, but I like that even it comes with its own little cage and everything. So that is amazing. So obviously with the mint on card, you can go with the original design, right? and he is part of your second series release. We've already looked at Macho Man. Macho Man had actually 2 releases. So you can go with variant A, which is reflected here, or variant B in pink. I don't know why they never show the second variation, but if you go back to series 1, I mean, Chelsea Green had like 2 or 3 different variations. There were like 3 different Colt Cabanas. I mean, you had multiple tag team versions of the Headbangers, right? I mean, Effie had multiple variations, so they only show you 1 variation. Referee Mike Chioda, I mean, he had different card backs, but he always had this. He had both his figures were the same. But Buff Bagwell, they only show 1 variant, but he has 2 different figures, so that's so freaking awesome. So his bio card reads, for over 40 years, Vlad has been the recognized symbol of excellence for pro wrestling superfans, fueling the mania from behind the guardrails. Vlad's passion explodes for all things pro wrestling. Amazing. Now, the first figure that we actually did look at, this was actually a 1 of 100, variant 1 of 100 edition in black. Will I try to get one another time? Again, only if Jack is actually selling it loose. I'm not going to try and buy the card. You know, save myself about $10 by buying it loose. But everything is the same. And this is another one of those slide backs, so easy release cards. Absolutely love it. Now, I don't know much about this character, but this is arguably one of the best figures, I would say, that the Wrestle Something Wrestlers from the retro line that they've actually come out with. And this is the Patriot Del Wilkes. I don't remember this character from childhood. Was he active when I was still watching wrestling? I don't know. I don't remember him at all. I think there was a Patriot. Actually, I'm almost positive. I'm like 99% sure there was a Patriot Just Toys Bendum. So, and I think I have a Just Toys Bendum. So I'm, like I said, I'm like 99% sure there was a Patriot figure. So that means that during the era of 95 to 2001, they did have a Patriot character. So he must have been wrestling during a time that I was still actively watching. Again, I was probably still watching wrestling up until about 96, 97, maybe 98. Again, around 98 is when I started watching baseball religiously, and at that point, wrestling as my, actually no, basketball was still my sport of choice. But once the Bulls won the last championship, basketball was done with. But I think the Patriot figure, forget Wrestle Something Wrestlers, among any Hasbro-style figure, this might be one of the best figures, period. So, play pose is incredible. And from Epic Toys recently, we looked at the Killer Bees, right? And I said that the B. Brian Blair might possibly be one of the top retro-style or Hasbro-style figures ever made. I would rate that this Patriot figure is right up there, right on par with one of the best figures ever made. This is incredible. And, he's, like Big Boss Man and a bunch of other, Hasbro-style figures with the wind-up, right? Now, obviously, unlike Hasbro or Mattel Retros, they don't have working action features. So if you're like me and you're so used to working with those action features, that's going to be kind of annoying, but it's got the clothesline, it's got the punch, right? The arms, they do kind of move around, so that's, if you're a fan of that, great playable pose. But the pants, overall design is absolutely immaculate. I love that. Everything from the boots to the laces to the American colors, incredible. The mask, I mean, look at that. That's incredible. like I said, I think this has got to be one of my all-time favorite figures. I mean, where would I rate him on my list of favorite Hasbro or Hasbro-style figures? I don't know. But I rate him very, very high. And like I said, from Wrestle Something Wrestlers, this might be my number one favorite from their company. Absolutely perfect. I don't know anything about the Patriot, from history or from actual real life wrestling. So, unfortunately, no history, nothing to talk about his character. But figure wise, if you're interested, this is one of those figures I highly recommend. Now, the last couple features Buff Bagwell. Now, I assume Buff Bagwell was in WWF, but I mean, pretty much everybody was in WWF. But again, I almost positive. Well, actually, I know he was WCW. I'm a 1,000,000% sure he was WCW. I mean, obviously he was WCW, but was he in WWF? Maybe, possibly. Again, I don't know. I know of the character. I know of the name. I've never seen him wrestle. So, again, I buy the figures because it's wrestling related, but I don't know anything about the character, so I don't have any history to talk about. But the figure, I mean, it's a good looking figure for what it is, but play pose, you know how I feel about that, right? And before we move on to the small one, here is variant number 2. I don't know if you guys prefer the red or the black. I think a lot of people like the black. Now, the black I think might be a little bit more expensive. The black is also a whole lot more rare. If you go onto the figure collection website, the red is probably always going to be available. The black, not so much. If you're looking to buy a loose figure, red is probably going to be available. You reach out to Jack directly. He could probably create a listing for a loose red figure, but if you're trying to find a loose black, probably not possible. But you might be able to find a black carded figure. And yeah, they pretty much keep the backdrop on these figures pretty much identical with the pictures and everything. But obviously I do prefer this over the blue backdrop. Now, the red figure comes with an accessory. But to me, accessories like this, they're nice, but it's kind of a useless accessory because you really have to cram that thing on there. Otherwise, you want to just sit it on there, it's going to pop right off. And that's kind of frustrating. Like I said, you really got to cram it on there to have it stick on his head. Oh, got it backwards. And even if you put it the other way. So, you face it the right way and you really can't cram it on there because it doesn't fit. You turn it around, face it the other way, cram it on, and it faces the wrong way, so it looks stupid. But I don't know. Aesthetically, looks spectacular. Arm positioning, it reminds me of the British Bulldogs from Epic Toys, and with this play pose, I hate that. That's horrible. It's only one step above the Bear Hug Hulk Hogan from Hasbro Series 2, right? I mean, a little bit further in more, and that's what you're getting. So, again, when these companies are creating these figures, they're not thinking about playability, and that is annoying. Their thought process is display. That is all they're thinking about. They're thinking it's going to adults, it's going to a collector. Who cares about the play pose? Like, you think about Hasbro and you think about that Hulk Hogan and you think about that bear hug. That today would be amazing for adult collectors who don't care about play pose because it's going to adults. It's a display figure. It looks amazing, right? It is. The Bear Hug Hasbro Hogan is a fantastic displayable figure. But from childhood, playing with that figure was one of the worst, one of the least enjoyable figures. As a kid, could I view if this was an available figure? Yeah, you could play the hell out of this. But is it the most enjoyable piece? No. But I mean, are any of us really sitting down, wrestling these? No, of course not. And at four, and that's the thing, guys. I mean, if these were like $3, $5, someone maybe I could understand, but at $40 a pop, nobody is risk damaging these figures. So when we say that they really are display only, it really is display only because you're not risk damaging the arms, loosening them up. You're not risking paint damage or anything because why? We're thinking about value. Are we going to be able to resell these and get our money back? What's it going to be worth 5, 10, 20 years from now? Is that $40 that we paid today going to be worth $200 20 years from now? Maybe. Or are there an excessive amount of collectors where they're mass produced and 20 years from now everybody's keeping them and everybody's keeping them carded and in mint condition where 40 years or 20 years from now that $40 is probably going to be either the same $40 or maybe be $20, which means they've gained absolutely no value. I'm always hopeful that they do garner some kind of value, but I've always said my collection, they're for me, right? They're for my personal enjoyment. So theoretically, I hope it garners, some kind of value in the future if I do want to sell it. But I mean, I'm not buying this stuff for the sole purpose of selling it. But the value wise, I still think about that. Everything I buy, I think about value for future, for future sales if it comes to it. Just kind of going over some of the details. I mean, like I said, man, I don't know a lot about these characters, but Jack from the figure collection store, he's amazing. One of the best dudes. I email him from time to time, and he gets back to you and gives you deals and stuff. He's one of those guys that gives you great customer service, and that's another thing. Why there are certain sellers that I recommend all the time because, yes, customer service to me means a lot. And when I, message someone like Zombie Sailors and you never hear back from them ever in a million years because customer service is not a top priority for them. In fact, customer service is probably non-existent. Whereas someone like, Latuni, someone like the Figure Collection Store, someone like Random Treasures, etc. Those are, customer service is right at the top of their list. So those are companies I will recommend because not only they give you the great customer service, but their products are amazing. So, so even though we look at like 5 cards today, I mean, these are basically your loose figures with the 2 added variants. And this Vlad character, his fanny pack keeps falling off because his fanny isn't too fanny-ish. What they need to do is give him a Yokozuna rump roast, and this fanny pack ain't coming off. That's it for the figure collection, retro figures. Tomorrow, well, tomorrow it's going to be Sunday, so tomorrow we're going to be looking at the magazine review. So more than likely Monday, we will look at the figure collection, bone crunching figures. I probably have about 4 figures that we never looked at. The Dwayne Gill, Macho Man, and the 2 Jeff Jarrett figures. Now, Macho Man has a couple different variants. I only have one. And so the Macho Man and Dwayne Gill, I only have 1 figure. I'm not going to open them, so we're going to look at them just on card. And the 2 Jeff Jarrett's, we'll look at them on card. We're going to look at the 2 loose figures, and that's it. So that one shouldn't take any more than 15-20 minutes. Probably less, because I don't have a lot to say about the Bone Crunchers, but I do at least want to get those figures shown for review. And then Tuesday, we're going to start the LJN review and get that ball rolling for the next Tuesday shows. And yeah, I'm still questioning whether or not I should include the Bendies and the Thumb Wrestlers into the LJN show, or if I just want to do just the 8-inch figures. But the other question I'm asking myself is, do I want to incorporate all of the variants into the show when I do my individual videos, or do I want the variants to be their own individual show, like the all yellow trunks B. Brian Blair, or the no teeth Terry Funk, for example, or the smiling face Terry Funk, for example, or the all red mustache and hair, for example, Jesse Ventura variants, for as a few figures. Do I want to show those off during my individual series review, or do I want to show those off at the end when I've gone through all 6 series and make the variants its own series, its own video? I'm pondering, but yeah, that's I'm always thinking these things through, so it's I'm probably leaning towards making that its own video. That way I can throw an extra video in at the end. Since 6 episodes is probably going to be a little too small, I want to stretch these episodes out a little bit further. But guys, we're hovering at almost 30 minutes, so I am going to go ahead and close out this video here. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care, everybody.